Lord of the Rings on twitch.tv/LotroStream. I'm your community manager, Cordovan, and I'll be with you for the next hour, hanging out. We're going to have the latest news on our character transfers, on the Spring Festival, plans for Tier 2 and 3 of the raid, and a whole lot more. I'm going to be showing off the new Spring Festival rewards in just a minute, so that's going to be the bulk of the show here. If things slow down and there's time later on in the show, I'm going to head on over to Landreval, where I still have Stampion. Yes, I have not transferred yet. I'm leaving the bandwidth open for you, essentially, so I'm just going to get it done whenever things slow down. Which means that all my characters are still on their servers that they were 2 weeks ago. Quick programming note, I will not be here next Friday. We have got a company outing that's happening that I'm going to attend. So no Court of the Rings next Friday, and after the show, I will see you in 2 weeks. I could use the time off as well. I don't know if you noticed. I'm pretty tired. It has been a heck of a couple of weeks, and I have got a bit of a low-grade headache. Not gotten a whole lot of sleep in about the past week, and I pretty much dedicated my weekend to hanging out in the Discord and forums and internal company chats, and really focused on the transfer work that has been done really since last Monday. Thankfully, we could say the name reservation part with VIPs went just fine. It's just that everything after that, when we started opening up the transfers, the demand was so overwhelming, and although we had entered this transfer queue with the belief that we were as prepared as we could be, we quickly found out that, oh no, you're just totally wrong. And the amount of demand has overwhelmed the service. So we spent really constantly since last, Tuesday here, working to reinforce the system, make it faster and faster and faster. Thankfully, we have not had many transfer errors overall. Like, the overall percentage of failed transfers is really quite low, but the queue time is pretty insane. If you enter the transfer queue now, you're probably looking at 100 hours or more. And so initially, to go a little bit into it, when we first started opening the transfers, the free transfers, players became well aware that the transfer button itself became the main gating mechanism. You know, when the service became overwhelmed, we had to shut off the transfer button, and the reason we had to do that is to prevent the queue from just sort of going to astronomical levels that it could never meet. Because at that time, especially, there were timeout conditions and things like that no longer exist in the system as of this point, but did back then. So regardless, we had to kind of turn on and off the transfer button. The problem with that, of course, is what is the end user behavior when you do something like that? Well, you're going to start spamming that transfer button and, getting a dozen clients going and start spamming the transfer button on all those dozen clients and trying to get in, because that's ultimately what this whole process is about, is getting you through the door and transferred, right? So we understand that. Nonetheless, it had an impact. So one of the things that we did, I guess it was about midweek last week, maybe latter part of last week, is we fixed that issue by instead removing the stress point there. That did have the impact. I guess this was it Friday night, Saturday morning that we did this work, Eastern time. Every time zone I say today is going to be relative to Eastern time, -4 GMT, because we're on a weird daylight saving time split with Europe. Makes it even more fun. But as soon as we did that, of course, when we opened those floodgates on Saturday morning, the thing that we were trying to prevent, of course, did in fact happen, which is that instead of having, maybe X number of thousand people in the queue, you got to add a couple zeros to it. And so that, of course, put us in this position where, say, Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, you got into the transfer queue process, and then you found yourself at that time, based just on raw math, you're looking at something like maybe 48 hours. But within minutes, of course, because that queue time got so high. That 48-hour time frame just kind of got blown out the window. So at this point, you're looking at days. And of course, that's not great either. So then what we've been doing, this work started prior to the transfer efforts that I just described to solve the transfer button issue. But what we did and have been doing, in fact, since then, is being able to add additional speed to the process, generally through a combination of, I don't know, hardware, software engineering type stuff. Add more nodes to it, realign those catalytic converters and transfer the dilithium crystals, right? But you do all that work, and then instead of having a speed of X number per hour, it was twice that, and then twice that, and then twice that. And we're now at the point where the transfer queue itself can process. I don't even know what the math is at this point. Something maybe around the range of 7 to 10 times faster than it was last week at this time. So that has had a huge impact, of course. That's allowed more people to successfully transfer. And that has allowed us to start, at some point you do the charting, and at some point the speed of transfers is going to outpace the queue that it's in, and then we'll start to see a net positive gain. We're not even there yet. Right now, I believe we're somewhere in the range of Monday morning, 5-ish a.m. At least that's what it was as of maybe an hour ago. But we're getting there. You also have to think that if you think about relative queue entrance point, right? You're going to have a chart that started Tuesday and was like bang up high, but then by the time Saturday hit and we had that initial rush, right, it was basically a wall, boom, and all of a sudden you got this many more, and then 5 minutes later, and let's say that was there. Now you're there. 5 minutes later, now you're up beyond the point of the camera, right? So, but eventually that goes down. Because many of you, although I recognize not nearly enough of you, but many of you have already got those transfers in process. So eventually we're going to crest into the point where the speed of transfers will start to make positive headway, and we're really going to see a speed up of the point in the queue that is being currently processed. And that time to transfer ultimately is going to start going down fairly dramatically. Now, it's going to see additional waves, of course, as people who previously were unable to transfer are now able to get in. But nonetheless, it's good news. It's all positive news. And one of the things I am doing here today, I actually need to call up the proper page to see if we're doing it right now. It looks like we're not quite yet. So there is a possibility that we are going to be bringing down Orchrist today to do some work on it. One of the things that players on Orchrist have been reporting to us in the past 24 hours particularly is that the game experience has been fairly poor. And there's a bunch of things that we're looking at in terms of the cause. But one of the, quote, easy steps you can do is to at least make sure that everything is rocking and rolling as it should by giving the world a bounce so that you start with a fresh set of parameters that you have just put into place, right? So then once you do that work, then you can see, okay, well, is it still happening? Okay, so why is it still happening? And it's not some unknown piece of maybe a load balancer somewhere that didn't properly like its restart or something like that, right? So that work may end up happening today. We may end up bouncing Orchrist as a result. So that is really where we are today. But one of the other things we're looking at is we have the potential to increase even more that speed here in the coming days. And if we're able to do that, we will. The best place to get information is twofold: the forums and the Discord. If you really want the granular up-to-the-minute info, go to the Discord. We can talk casually there. And then all the big beats, all the big bullet points of information that actually come through the channels in an official capacity gets put onto the forums as well. The place not to go, I'm sorry to say, is our game launcher right now. Our game launcher has had some issues really for a couple of months now. It's one of the few pieces in the environment that still runs on the old Lotro forums. There's mechanical baseline kind of systems that run the launcher newsfeed that are based on the old Lotro forums that are in a read-only state and have been since 2023. And that launcher work to get a new launcher newsfeed it's been a engineering task along with a community task. We're working together on it for a while now, honestly almost a couple of years maybe. But the thing is remember, if you go back a couple of years ago, what was the community really demanding of us? And that was to solve our lag problems, and do a bunch of work related to that. And much of that work ended up falling on engineering. So at that time, when we did the new forums, we didn't immediately switch over the launcher newsfeed because we weren't quite ready for it. And we've been in a almost their state ever since, really. And so we need to just get that, in business speak, across the finish line. Can mark off that Jira task is done. But at some point, we need to do that work. But until then, I have been in a position where access and reliability of the launcher newsfeed has been somewhat poor in recent weeks. So if you're not seeing it in the launcher newsfeed, that's why. It's because I couldn't get it to work. And I'm sorry. It's not fun. And it is on our to-do task, except, of course, the engineers are a little busy right now because of, I don't know, character transfers and the launch of our 64-bit game worlds and everything else. So we haven't really been able to get to it yet, but that is on the to-do list. And eventually what we'll do is that launcher newsfeed will be driven by the same newsfeed that drives Lotro.com. So if you go to Lotro.com, and it is going to mean some adjustments to what I post and how I post it. But if you go to Lotro.com right now, all those little square boxes on the website, that's the newsfeed. And we're basically going to take a text version of that and put it into the game launcher. So I believe, unless we're going to do it as some part of wider launcher project, what we're going to have to strip out the images and the header images in particular, and then what the launcher newsfeed for the launcher will be what's really the title and then the summary line, and that'll be the launcher newsfeed. So that's the medium-term plan for that one. What else can I say about character transfers here before I kind of move on and get into a little bit of player Q&A, and get to some other news here as well. So I've talked about the transfer speed, the general state of the process. I could mention this. One of the big questions we've been getting is when on housing. One of the things that we did as a result of these character transfer delays is to turn off the ability to purchase any housing. All the housing brokers are not brokering. And when on that is really going to depend on when we get through this queue. As we start getting towards the end of the queue, the amount of excitement and calls to do it are going to start rising here. But from what we need to do, if we want to try to be as fair as we can, and yes, we recognize this is going to be a land rush. It's going to be some tense moments in Lotro land, perhaps. We want to make sure that people transfer over, their kinship leaders particularly, and make sure that gets done. Now, because these transfers are going through the end of August, we're not going to wait until the end of August to open up housing, obviously. So there will come a point where we need to make that determination of, okay, enough people who wanted to transfer in order to get part of this land rush have now done so, that we can plan for opening up housing on X date, and then communicate that to you. And then presumably something like a noon Eastern on whatever date, we would open up the housing, and then there would be that land rush. Why noon Eastern? Well, it could be we can get a little iffy on that, and some people are going to have very strong opinions about whether this is true or not. But in general, we have found that that covers the widest period of time for our player base that exists from the west coast of the United States to the more eastern parts of Europe. And the reason for that is you figure noon Eastern, France, Germany, that kind of thing, are roughly about 6 hours ahead of Eastern time, except right now when they're 5 because we're on a weird time zone shift. But 6 hours, so noon Eastern is 6 p.m. their time, which means that they get the chance to be home from work in general, or at least towards the evening there. I've been to Germany. People tend to enjoy, they don't have those late night work hours maybe that you see more commonly elsewhere, but they properly allocate their time. Anyway, regardless, I'm not trying to make judgments on the German people here. All I'm saying is that generally that puts it evening Europe time, noon Eastern time, and hey, I'm probably up by this point, California time. And so, you figure about 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. is the window that we're looking for. 9 a.m. West Coast time to 6 p.m. European summertime, CEST or whatever. And then, of course, you recognize that Europe doesn't end at CEST, but it goes on a little beyond that for folks and even farther parts of Eastern Europe and Russia and China and elsewhere, right? So, but you start adding hours to that, and still 6 p.m. Central Europe time, noon Eastern time, 9 a.m. California West Coast time tends to be about as broad a swath as we can to try to be equal to the widest number of people who are less likely to be asleep at that time. So that's probably somewhere around the time frame that will go. All right. It's been really crazy in the Discord this week, in part because there have been a lot of demands for answers to things that really are hard to pinpoint. We've become better at pinpointing it now that we've had time to live under this, right? But especially last week, I was getting a lot of things saying, well, I transferred at noon yesterday. I hit the button on 3 of my launchers, and 3 of them worked, but I think maybe the one didn't, but I'm not sure yet. But also, I'm not getting the email. Can I play my characters on the Origin world, and at what point can I stop playing those? Do I need to stop playing those characters? And trying to suss those things out on an individual basis when I'm literally getting, I don't know, what, 10, 20 an hour, maybe something like that, was pretty difficult. So I tried to get into more general guidance, and ultimately the community, as is great for this kind of thing, started to crowdsource some information about when do you actually need to stop playing. Okay, so the long-term SSG guidance has been don't play while you transfer, but that's when transfers take 10 seconds. What happens when it takes 78 hours? At what point from that previously 10-second process that is now 78 hours do exactly various steps of the process happen? It took, not always the easiest thing to do unless you're sitting there as an engineer or whatever watching the transfers process. But I'm not that person, I'm a dude sitting in a Discord, relaying information that's being worked on. But ultimately, though, the community has determined that, yes, in general, you can play while you're in this queue until you can't. At which point, it probably won't fail anything, but it could. And since that's ultimately the answer, that makes it even more difficult for, say, an official institution like SSG to give binding player guidance about when exactly you should stop playing your character. In general, I would say, and don't tell CS I told you this, I will deny it. In general, you're safe to play on characters that aren't being transferred flat out. in general, you can plan the characters that are being transferred up until the point that that you actually start initiating the transfer process. You go from the queue to the active processing. There is no real indication of when that's going to happen, other than when it does happen, you will typically find yourself being, quote, banned from the game. You're not actually banned. What it is an understandable, really, account lock that under normal server transfer conditions lasts a matter of seconds, right? Maybe a minute, tops. It'll lock your account, make sure nothing's happening, do the transfer, and then unlock the account. And because it's normally a very quick, slow process, there's not a lot of messaging associated with it, and so it just uses the ban system in order to get that done. It'll ban you and unban you. You can use different terminology, and there is different terminology. It's an account lock, but in terms of what it's doing to your account, it's basically putting in a brief ban and then an unban. Players have been getting that messaging that are not normally getting that messaging. You're not actually banned. It's simply that you've reached the point in the transfer queue that the transfers are actually happening, and it needs to lock your account so it can do that work. That is the point where if you're playing on that character that you're trying to transfer, it'll probably fail. And that's why some of our guidance we've had to rely more on community guidance than official statements in regards to exactly at what point should I stop playing. Because really what we've tried to do is instead offer general guidance, give or take maybe an hour, of where the transfer queue is, which is why I said something like, a little after 5 a.m. as of Monday, as of an hour ago. So if you initiated that transfer process at 6 a.m. on Monday, well, maybe you ought stop playing your game account. But ultimately, if it fails, it fails. We've done our best to try to make it as possible, but if it fails, you're just going to have to try again. Which I guess then leads you to have to ask yourself how much, at what you're pretty much safe at least for 48 hours or so here at this point. Even if we were to suddenly speed everything up, I doubt you'd have to worry about anything under 48 hours. And then there's going to have to be some internal color coding system up to red alert, that we'll have to figure out as a community and offer guidance to. But in general, that's what I would say about that today. I think that basically covers the transfer stuff. The start of server-to-server transfers between the 64-bit game worlds that we're going to do on a weekly rotating basis, we have stated that we intend to start that March 26th. That'll probably be fine. It's possible that could change as well, depending on what happens here with the transfer queue. But based on the way we're going, I would expect that seems like a likely enough scenario that we'll start doing the transfers from Peregrine to Glamdring and Glamdring to Peregrine on a weekly one-way basis for about 8-9 weeks, starting March 26th. I don't know on the Dark Worlds. At this point, we have other things we need to focus on besides when on the Dark Worlds. Who knows? It'll be when this is done. So, we'll see. We'll have more timing on that. For other news, I would mention that the other big thing that's happening is the Spring Festival that kicked off at 10 a.m. yesterday and runs through April 1st. I'm going to be showing off the new Spring Festival rewards here in just a second. I would point out that on tomorrow, what day is today? That's been the other problem for me. That's why, if you notice, the release notes have been off a day, some of the downtimes, the numbers. I don't know what day it is. Are you kidding me? I've been so busy. I don't even know what day it is. Anyway, but I do know that the Hardtack crafting event, or not the Hardtack, the Forester crafting event, starts on March 15th, which is tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern, and then runs for a week. The other thing I would mention is related to our raid. The Temple of Utagabur is going to open up on Tier 2 at noon Eastern next Thursday, March 20th. So Tier 2 of Temple of Utagabur opens on March 20th, next Thursday. A week later, on March 27th, Tier 3 of Temple of Utagabur will open. And that week as well, roughly around the last week of the month, we have a tentative game update in place. It'll be really just kind of a bug fix and whatever fits into it sort of patch ahead of update 44 and such. So could be the last patch for update 43, we'll see. Looking ahead a little bit beyond, we do have on the calendar this year, we are going to bring back the April Fool's Day event. And that's only like 24 hours, though, so you got to get in on April 1st if you want it. That's the April Fool's Chicken Run in PvMP. That'll be happening. That should be pretty fun as well. We also did extend the end timing for the Leading the Charge deed of Temple of Utagabur. Off the top of my head, I think it's May 20th? I don't know if I can... My calendar is being slow on the update. 21st. 3 a.m. Eastern on the 21st, so through May 20th, on the Temple of Utagabur Leading the Charge deed. And I would call out that we released update 43.1 this week. We actually had a Thursday release this week. And the main thing we did there is we did get rid of the new deed log because it was crashing things. Whether and how that comes back, TBD. We fixed an issue with some doors in Thorin's Hall. And a bunch of other kind of polish related to the raid and High Elf and Elf and a few other things as well. So you can find the release notes for that on Lotra.com. All right, am I in game? I am in game. Let me make sure I don't have any weird names showing. Oh, let me make sure I am no longer invisible. 4, I am on Cordovan. Let me... There we go. Cordovan in the moonlight. Here today. This is on Landreval. Oh, I missed the moon. There was that big lunar eclipse overnight. I was asleep. Shoot. Why does it only happen in the dark? Oh, wait a second. All right, so here is the new Spring Festival rewards. Oh, before I do that, let me actually just let's do this, and I haven't actually looked at chat. I've been lying. Is that an extensive collection of vinyl records behind me? Why, yes, it is. Thank you. It's about a little over half of my collection. I don't have one of those mega walls that you see on the internet, but I got a lot. Yeah, I know. There's some people in chat who have been saying this time zone thing stinks because the U.S. lost an hour last Sunday right in the middle of these transfers, and all of a sudden now Europe and US, no one knows what time it is. It's a big old mess. Can we just agree to get rid of daylight saving time as a world? As a world, can we agree to get rid of daylight saving time? If you do see an issue, Hoppa Joel and others who are having some escrow and kinship chest issues, please do get in touch with customer support. They're going to be the ones who can look into the logs and see what happened and take care of it. Yes, Mandalare. Kellier said that she thought, regardless of the 214 months displaying on the subscriber jug, if I recall, those would decay normally in 2 weeks. That is my belief as well. We are certainly not going to let you keep your subscriber jug for 214 months. I'm sorry. There are reasons, IMO. But that was some kind of weird quirk of this transfer thing as well, where it's been showing up as I think it's a display error. Either way, that'll probably be in that 43.2 patch. That's towards the end of the month. So, Smallville brings up a frequently raised point in the past week and a half that instead of shutting down that transfer button, couldn't we have just opened servers one at a time for individuals to transfer? We had a lot of discussions in the past week as this all unfolded, and so far we have opted not to do that. There are some technical considerations that are involved in doing that. But on top of that, at that moment in particular, there was, I think, a legit concern that if we did one transfer, like let's just say we said, okay, everyone to Glamdring now, then that would actually end up with a higher wall in the queue than the overall ability to queue everyone up equally. The reason for that would be that if everyone on Glamdring goes, we could be like, today we could be sitting there going, okay, when's it not going to be Glamdring? And so ultimately we wanted to do that balancing work. And you're right that if given, say, another month of planning, given what we know now, could we have done something like that where we had a rotating 2 worlds or something? For sure. But when we found ourselves in that position in real time with the circumstances that we had, that didn't seem like the best solution in terms of a real-time response. Why was the scaling in terms of the speed of transfers not done before the whole kickoff? Well, we did. We did, in fact, actually increase the speed of transfers. You know, we did a lot prior, under expectations of what things could and would handle. And then the real world laughed at us. And we've been having to sort of deal ever since. I am going through chat, and then I'm going to do a little bit more. We do have an official Discord, Moobot. Thank you. I don't know why that keeps... It's been a little spammy, but whatever. The truth is the Discord has been intense, has it not? I think it is worth calling out the moderators of the Discord in particular. These are volunteers. These are volunteer Lotro players. All of these moderators who have been having to deal with all this stuff, and in addition to us at SSG, they're all the volunteers, though. They don't have to do this. We have to do this. They don't have to do that. But they have been for more than a week now, offering information, trying to keep things organized, trying to bring down the heat when necessary a little bit in terms of profanity and you very not nice people SSG type stuff that's been understandably happening. So please do thank your Lotro Discord moderator. And we just crossed, gosh, let me look this up. Where even are we today? Where were we? Yesterday, I believe we crossed. We did. Yesterday, we crossed 16,000 members. And we're now at 16,134. And that's intense. So having 16,000 and in real time we've seen 8 to 12,000 people show us online in the Discord. Having that many people in real time going through this process together has been quite the experience. And we've tried to keep, say, chat in slow mode and things like that. But it's been something, has it not? So, and overall, I think we found the Discord is not a bad way to go. You can stumble and fall a little more easily in your statements, especially as you get more casual in your conversation and start trying to meet the pace of demands that are being presented to you. It's easier to make mistakes, and I think both Sev and I did a little bit of that in the past week here. But overall, I think it's been a pretty good thing and a good, accurate way to get the latest information. So that's my suggestion. Go to the Discord for the latest. Except I've also been doing the forums. But like I said, the forums, what I've been trying to do, rather than all the kind of lesser, more like, well, we haven't I don't actually know this, but this is how I would think it might work, or something like that. When we actually have solid info, that all goes to the forums. But there's value maybe that people have found in some of the random chatter as well, and that's on the Discord. Did I say Orchrist is going down today? It is possible. Prior to the live stream, there was some chatter about that maybe if we gave Orchrist a quick reboot, that it would solve, or at least help us identify the cause of some of the Orchrist performance issues that we've seen in the past 24 hours. All right, there's a lot of chat here too. We have also seen a real increase in viewers to the show since January 1st. The days where I'm doing this Friday show and not hitting 100 concurrents, it used to be pretty regular, even last year. I don't think my December shows pulled more than maybe 70, 80 people. And we're at 163 right now. So it means more chat to get through. Yes, pinned messages in the Discord in particular. What we've been trying to do in the 64-bit transfer chat of the Discord is whenever Sev and I say something that is any way really related to information about transfers, we pin it on the Discord. You can only have 50 pins active at a time, but we've been doing that, and it's a good way to get the latest information. I don't know. Christopher has a question specifically about the update 43.1 release notes related to high elf females, where the hairline has been lowered on hairstyles 2, 3, 4, and 7. You are of the impression that some of the male elf and high elf hair also starts rather low on the forehead. Could we move it up a bit? Now, in the case of the high elf female, we actually lowered it, not raised it. But a request that we consider raising it would be a good one. I would fill that out as a bug report. It may not technically be a bug, but if it's lower than it should be, that could count as a bug. So send in a bug report on that, and perhaps there's something that QA could take a look at. I'll be hitting Twitch Partner soon. We've been a partner for a long time now. We're in some kind of semi-partner state with Twitch that not many, I don't know how many people are in this position, but it really is an early, you figure we've been doing this since not long after Twitch was Justin TV. Once Justin TV became Twitch, we created an account, started streaming not that long after. I think I first started streaming on the DDO side, what was it, 2013, 2014, something like that, maybe even. And so we're in a kind of an unusual partner state where we don't have a lot of the partner benefits of like advertising and that, but in terms of some of the restrictions, we're treated as a partner. And that really goes back to some kind of old deal um, with different entities and such. But it's just sort of been that way ever since. All right, let's take a quick look here at the Spring Festival items. You'll see I do have the general outfit on here, the Cloak of the Budding Spring. This does come in a hooded version as well. There's a dress, a different couple of sleeveless dress, long sleeve dress. And then I'm wearing the tunic and leggings on Cordovan here. And then we've got these housing items. Lily Pond, I'm going to go to a house and show this off. Purple flowering hedge, red, yellow hedge, forest hedge. This is the cute one, and this one is from Festivity Tokens or Mithril, if I recall. And this is the Tome of the Hedgehog and Hare Parade. And this is about as cute as it gets. So let's bring that out. Here's a little hedgehog towing around the little bunny rabbit. We got some squeeze when this got posted to social media this week. I mean, come on, right? Who doesn't want this? The world may be falling apart, but at least you got a hedgehog wheeling around a bunny behind you. And then there's a goat of the budding spring, which, let me go and get onto that. Take a look. Although someone had it on in the background of my shot, I noticed earlier as well. It's always nighttime when I try to do this. I don't know why that is. When I logged in, it was day. Oh well. And then we're going to go, let's go to the housing quick and show off those housing items. Oh, I should also turn on sound. No, this is on. I should mention real quick that I am on my official admin character and I am on Landreval. I am not on a 64-bit game world. So housing is off in the 64-bit game worlds. You can tour, but you can't buy. But I don't even need to do that. I'm on Landreval. I said this at the start of the show, so most of you probably didn't catch it, but I have not transferred yet. One of the things that I very quickly decided to do on Tuesday is not try and let you get that space. So I'm not going to worry about any of my stuff until things chill out, and that's how that's going to go. So. I actually do have this house set up kind of nicely, but let's just bring out some hedges and do some stuff. We'll start with this pond and fountain of budding spring. Oops. There we go. Again, unfortunately, it's nighttime, of course, when I'm trying to show this off. Oh, no, we're getting toward dawn. All right, well, maybe in a few minutes here then. This is all from the other thing, so ignore that. Oh yeah, let me turn on sound. That's right. All right, now let's take a look at... Let me set that wrong. Take a look at one of these hedges. Which one of these will fit? There we go. Okay. Oh, no, we'll do the Hobbit fountain then for this one. Or, oh, I set to that. Oh. Let me try something else here. What did I do wrong here? Oh, I bet the Hobbit fountain got moved somewhere. But if that's where the oven is, let me replace... That's the old one. Okay. Trying to find the right housing hook. Okay, so which one do I need for these? This is fence. Where's my fence? Gosh, where's my fencing hook? I guess I haven't done that in a while. It's not that then. Huge yard. Where's your fence? Oh, by the front door. By the front door. Thank you. Gosh. This yard. Huge yard. That's the front. Okay. Get this off so I can see. Which, but the other door. Which other door? Not this door? Or do I need to be on the side? Yeah. Why am I not seeing it? Oh my god, I'm so bad. Why can I not see this? Oh, it's probably because I have... There we go, that'll help. Maybe? Why am I not seeing my music hook? I am not seeing my music hook here. What the heck? Probably the tree. It's decoration. I don't really... The other door, but I'm not really seeing another door. Where is the other door? God. Oh, this is terrible. I'm killing myself here. Yeah. Oh, this door. Oh, this door. And the reason I couldn't see it is because I have crap in front of it. Okay. Thank you. God. There we are. Oh my god. Thank you. Alright, so we have got the purple flowering hedge. Not really seeing any flowering, however. Oh, because it'll be over here. Right. Oh, this thing. Get rid of this. Rank. This was chaos, that one, at that one point, wasn't it? So. There we are. Not really seeing much in the way of fence posting on this property. Regardless, we do have that. Why don't I do the final piece then? Which is the one... Where's that Hobbit fountain? Oh, no. Quick fence. Why I'm having such trouble today. I guess it's just been a long day. Oops. It's been a lot. Also, why am I no longer seeing my... Here we go. Here's my fence. Alright. Yeah, I'm not really seeing that, so I guess I just, I won't show it. Alright. Yes, happy Pi Day to everyone. Yeah, this was that community build. That's why there's so much stuff, everyone. This was a thing we just did for a show, if I recall, a while ago, right? Several years ago. We just had a big, everyone do stuff on the property, and we just had some fun with it. And that was cool. So, yeah, it's the border around my property, but I'm not seeing too much. I guess not a whole lot, anyway. Yeah. All right. Well, I am going to do a little bit of chat here and then call it a show, because it's been a thing. Which neighborhood am I in? You want to come get your stuff? Well, let me tell you. 1 Welfirth Way and Amlin Lindleby Homesteads on Landreval. So Landreval, Amlin, 1 Welfirth Way. I suppose I could go in and actually just return all this stuff to its owner, and I suppose that'll happen if I were ever to transfer this Cordovan character. Maybe that's the easier way to do it. But, if I remember, is just sort of like, come get your stuff after if you want it, you know? So it was fun. That was a lot of fun. But yeah, that's a good point. I think if I actually transfer this character, that stuff will go into your shared item storage. I believe. Or personal housing storage or something like that. Alright. That's going to do it with Court of the Rings here today. Hope you've had a good week. I know it's been a frustrating week for many of you. We are looking at big progress through this upcoming weekend. I would imagine we'll have more to say about housing and other items of interest next week, hopefully. You know, as the pace of transfer speeds up here, hopefully we'll be able to get a better sense of what the timing on the rest of this is. However, I will also say that we have seen tons of people on all of these new 64-bit game worlds. I have not seen the charts and graphs of the numbers myself, but I know just based on player experience that all these worlds have been real busy, and that's great to see. And with the exception of what we just talked about here on Orcrist, the performance on the new 64-bit game worlds has been very positive as well. So all good news on that front. So once we get through this transfer stuff, we should be good to go long term here. If you're watching on YouTube, really do appreciate any likes or subscribes that you want to give. Liking this video really does help spread the word to other Lotro players, and subscribing will get in your subscription feed if you're interested in that. And thank you everyone on Twitch for being a part. Thank you everyone on Discord and elsewhere for watching afterwards. I will see you in 2 weeks with more Court of the Rings. Have fun.